Hello, everyone. If you're making any lifestyle changes or thinking about making lifestyle changes for yourself, your family, please consult with your medical doctor first, a certified nutritionist, a certified dietitian before you start any diet programs, meal programs to help with your weight, exercise programs. You want to make sure you talk with your doctor first. Even though you know your body better than you know yourself, but it's safe to use wisdom at the same time. So I want to talk about sodium on today for those that have maybe high blood pressure, that deal with lymphedema, fluid, may have fluid on your legs, may have had some COPD, congestive heart failure, and dealing with fluid. I may have had some hospitalizations where they had to get fluid off you. And one of the things that I want to share with you, being transparent, is I had fluid back in November of 2023. I was hospitalized and I had a lot of fluid and learned that I had a different health conditions going on. But I'm going to talk about that later at a later date and time, share my story and different things like that. But I am on a 2,000 milligram or gram of sodium. And one of the things, when you have too much salt and you have high blood pressure, it tends to run your blood pressure up. Now, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, but I do smart eating. So a lot of different foods that we eat, we already know that it has sodium in it or some type of kind of salt content in it. And you have to be careful of what you eat when it comes to people that have hypertension, people that deal with fluid in your body and different things like that, especially the salt intake. So you want to make sure that you read the labels at all times. Make sure it adds up to whatever your doctor say. This is for your your diet. 15 calorie intake a day. You can only have maybe 500 milligrams of sodium. You can have like 6 milligrams of grams of sodium, or 1,000 grams of sodium. So that means even though they say you can have this and then your sodium intake, you have to make sure that you don't go over your sodium intake. So certain foods that you may want to eat, you might find it that you have to eat it as a standalone meal by itself because of the sodium intake, the sodium that's in it. And if you add another piece of might be meat or bread, it could be too much and it could go over the sodium intake that you're allowed to eat. For example, me, if I eat macaroni and cheese, I have to eat that by itself. I can't add a piece of meat to it. I can't add no bread to it. I can't add this to it. I can have a salad, but macaroni and cheese, because of sodium intake, I have to eat it as a standalone meal. Now, this is, for an example, I had this today. Velveeta, microwavable macaroni and cheese. So the sodium intake, the sodium in here is 500, and I think it say 590 milligrams. So you don't want to look at the daily value. You want to look at the milligrams itself. So this may be 590 milligrams. And even though I'm on a 2,000 milligram sodium intake, I could probably add something else in with that. Maybe a small piece of meat or something like that, or some vegetables. Or I can add a salad, but it can't go over 2,000, where it would be too much on me. It might make my blood pressure go up. It might add a little bit of fluid on me. And, even though I take medicine for that. But that 590 sodium is good. And maybe I can find like a vegetable that may be like 20 grams of sodium, 30 grams of sodium. But I can't go over 2,000. So when it comes to sodium, if you're on a sodium a restriction, make sure that you add up the sodium so that you will not go over your sodium restriction, and that will help keep the fluid off and help keep the swelling down and everything. Trust me. So because I have lymphedema and I have high blood hypertension, I was prone to getting the fluid. So right now I'm at my baseline. That means my feet is not swollen, my legs not swollen, anything like that. I don't have no fluid buildup or anything like that, because I'm not really putting no seasoning in my food. I don't put no salt in my food, anything like that. So my taste buds build up an intolerance. And how do I know? One day I had some Chinese food, and so for a snack, my treat day. I'm not even gonna say snack. Let me take that back. I had it for a treat day, and I had the broccoli, the steamed broccoli. Now, mind you, I don't put salt or nothing on my food. I just eat it plain. And so my taste buds changed. So one day I was eating the broccoli, and I was like, oh my God, this is so salty. Oh my Lord, why is this broccoli so salty? And I just didn't eat it at all. I ate the rice, but I didn't eat the broccoli. So I told my nurse, I said, I had some broccoli from the Chinese restaurant, and it was tasted so salty to me. And she said, because I stopped eating salt on my food, now my taste buds are very sensitive, and I can taste the salt content in food. So I'm really tasting the salt content when it comes to different foods, and I taste it like, oh no, I can't have that. That's too salty. So I'm like, wow, really? So as you start to eat healthy and take different steps one day at a time, because things ain't gonna go just like that. Now it can, but it's like taking baby steps, one step at another, as you progress towards your goals. And that's what I'm doing, progressing towards my goals. I remember one time my son looked at my leg, he said, oh my gosh, your leg look bony. I said, that's because all the swelling and there was no fluid in my leg. So I make sure I wash my legs to make sure it's not, it don't have no fluid in it. I do the little test that they do. I touch my foot to make sure. I always do my hand to make sure that it doesn't have fluid in it. I make sure I take the medicine that they gave me to help get rid of the extra fluid. And sometimes I know when my body has extra fluid because I could tell by me constantly going to the bathroom, like every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, every 4 minutes, every 5 minutes. And when that happens, like today and yesterday, I know, okay, that's fluid coming off of me. If I'm going back to back like that, I know that, okay, my body's getting rid of the extra fluid that should not be on me. So that, I just wanted to give some tips. Make sure you watch your sodium intake for those that have high blood pressure, maybe dealing with a fluid in your body. Those of y'all that are fluid restriction, those of y'all that are on sodium restriction, make sure that you follow along with your dietitian, nutritionist, and your doctor on what they tell you to do when it comes to sodium and salt intake, and even seasoning. Let me tell you something. If you eat oodles and noodles or ramen noodles, stay away from those, because that little pack, man, that will take your blood pressure skyrocket. Because in that little pack, y'all won't believe, that little pack is loaded down with sodium. And I'm gonna find out how much sodium is in this little seasoning pack, and I'm gonna post it to let y'all know, because I'm gonna post it. But I remember when my kids were like very young, they were still in elementary school, middle school, and elementary and high school. And I went to the doctor one day. He asked me, he said, do you eat ramen noodles or noodles? And I said, no, I don't eat them things no more. He said, good, stay away from them. He said, because that is not good for people that have high blood pressure. And better yet, it's not good for people anyway. Yes, ramen noodles and oodles and noodles, that's not even food. That's like way processed food that takes a long time to digest in your body. For real. I'm going to talk about that too, about different foods that takes like weeks, days that we eat, that takes a long time to digest, especially red meat. Takes a long time to digest in our system. I try not to eat a lot of red meat, because I'm finding if I do, it'll make my stomach hurt. So I try to eat the white meat, and then sometimes I don't eat meat at all. I might just eat the vegetables, but it all depends. I told my doctor last week, I say I eat nothing but tuna fish every day. I mean tuna fish or fish every day. But at the same time, we can't even eat too much fish because of mercury. Yes, we're going to talk about that too. On certain foods that you cannot eat too much of, especially fish. Yes. So I'm going to come in and let you know what type of kind of fish that you can eat and don't have to worry about the mercury. But let's keep it real. Don't eat too much fish because the mercury poison. We don't want to go there. But I'm going to talk about a lot of things when it deals with health and wellness and nutrition and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian and anything like that, but I can give you some tips. Like I said, talk to your doctor, talk to a board certified nutritionist, when it comes to sodium, how to read labels. You need to understand when you're on a health and wellness routine, for yourself or your family. Once you talk to your doctor and your nutritionist and different things like that, you need to learn how to read labels, food labels. There are plenty of books out here that will teach you how to read labels, different food labels and what to look for. I'm telling you, and I'm gonna post some books in a short on which you can read on how to read labels, food labels for health and wellness. But I just wanted to put that out there for you guys that would like to know about sodium and why it's so important to watch out for your sodium intake, especially those with hypertension and that has that been dealing with fluid buildup. It's the sodium that you gotta limit in your diet. If you can get away from using it in your food, there are other ways that you can season your food that has seasoned this very low sodium and will still make your food taste good. I get Meals on Wheels and they don't put no season in it, but it tastes good. Some of them are really good now, but there are other seasons out here that are not high in the sodium that you can use to cook with, to bake with. There are so many different options out here. If you want to get rid of the salt, I don't use salt at all. The last time I brought salt, oh my gosh. Oh wow, I can't even tell you the last time. The last time I brought salt, I think it was like in 2008, 2007. That was the last time I brought salt. After that, I would not buy salt. I would buy like Mrs. Dash. I used to use Old Bay season. The last time I used Old Bay season was like, I don't even remember. A lot of seasons that I used to use, I don't even remember. Especially soy sauce. You want to make sure that you don't use a lot of soy sauce. If you cook like different foods that require soy sauce as one of the ingredients, you want to make sure you don't use a lot of that, because that is high in sodium, man. I'm telling you, it's high in sodium. And if you have hypertension, you got to be careful on what you eat when it comes to the sodium, because it will make your blood pressure go up. Yes, I'm telling you, it will make your blood pressure go up. So I'm going to do a part 2 on this, and stay tuned for more.